Nelson Narciso, well, thank you so much for coming to La Jolla this year. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. It's always so great to have someone from Brazil and a regulator this year to talk about some regulatory issues. You're a director at the National Petroleum Agency, ANP, and if I'm not wrong, ANP was part of the law in 1997 that opened up the energy sector, the oil and gas sector, to investment in Brazil, and began with bid rounds and continues to offer bids for companies. What's sort of been the evolution? What's been the success, I think we can call it, of the establishment of ANP in the 1997 law in Brazil? And talk a little bit, if you will, about investment in Brazil and the upstream.
Well, what I can see in Brazil, I mean, if you get back to 1997, at that time Brazil has just one company, that was Petrobras, working in the upstream. Nowadays, Brazil, after 10 bidding rounds, Brazil has 77 companies or economic groups working on the upstream in Brazil. 36 out of those 77 are foreign companies, representing 19 different countries, spread all over the world in the 5 continents. This brought a lot of evolution for Brazil. If you take, for example, the level of proven reserves in Brazil, it's jumped from 7.8 billion barrels of oil equivalent to around 14 billion at the end of 2009, without considering the new frontier of the pre-salt, where we, as regulator, are still waiting for the operator to make what we call declaration of commerciality, to really talk to you about what the volume of the proven reserves. When we see, generally speaking, the situation in Brazil, we can see with a great pleasure that differently of most of the people thought about at the time the law was approved. I mean, Petrobras ramped up as well in a way that investment of Petrobras jumped from levels of 3.54 billion US dollars per year to level over 20, 30 billion. I mean, as Petrobras, if you have a look on Petrobras' budget for the next 5 years, Petrobras is talking about in between 174 billion to 220 billion. So, I mean, on top of Petrobras, we have several other companies that is being invested in Brazil. Right. Local content is something very important for Brazil. A lot of companies, I mean, were created, service companies were created as well in Brazil. That gives to Brazil, I would say, a very good position after the approval of the oil law.
Would you say that since that time period, you talked about 10 bid rounds, was that change at the federal level essential to the discovery of what is now the internationally famous pre-salt play?
Well, what happened is that the previous model was going quite well, but it is the right of the Brazilian government, when we faced with this new frontier where in just 2 accumulation, I call it accumulation because it's not a field yet, as the declaration of commerciality hasn't been presented yet for ANP to ANP. But what the operator is saying is that in this 2 accumulation of 2P and IARA, we might have something in between 8 and 12 billion barrels. And we have, on top of these 2 accumulation, we have several other blocks that we understand are very prolific blocks and geology. And Brazil, I mean, government through the CNPE, which is the National Council for Energetic Policy, came to the point that Brazil must have a better control of the reserve, a better control of the production. And the Brazilian government has proposed to the Congress 4 different project law, where the first one, the Brazilian government is proposing to change the model from concession for the area for production sharing agreement.
Right. But just for the pre-salt, right? I mean,
just
you
for
will
the
continue to do bidding outside of that.
No, absolutely not. Only the pre-salt. And the pre-salt, we are talking about 149,000 square kilometers out of 7.5 million square kilometers of the total sedimentary base in Brazil. And what I have at this point in time is that around 38% of the total area, this 38% of this 149 are under concession right now. And it is very good, very important to point out here that the Brazilian government, the ANP, will maintain the contract the way it has been signed so far. So all change is going to occur, is going to happen for the new bidding rounds.
So one final question. This is well, thank you very much, but one final, the hardest question I'd like you to answer. Is Brazil going to win the World Cup this year?
I have no doubt about that.
Thank you very much, Nelson.
No doubt about it.